What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Scout YouTube video with me, Lee, and this is Sam from FPL Family. Now, Sam, we are coming up to game week 6 in FPL. That means we've had 5 game weeks of Lee versus Sam. Point predictions. Currently, it's 4-0 to you. I desperately need a dub. Come on. Please, can I have a win this week? How did it go?
Okay, let's go through the points from last week then. So, if we remember correctly, I had the premiums over 10% owned last week, and Lee, you had the differentials.
I was up against it.
The under 10%. Okay, so I had Lamptey as my premium over 10% owned defender. Conceded 1 shot, 1 goal, one stupid penalty.
Could not believe the stats from that game. Crystal Palace's non-penalty XG, expected goals from non-penalties, was 0. Literally nothing.
They had no shots.
And the penalty was really flaky as well.
Soft penalty.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit annoyed to lose my clean sheet, to be honest, from Lamptey
I can see that.
2 points. I was made even more annoyed when Jamie Vardy suddenly got injured and didn't play.
Yes. Yeah.
So big fat.
He was kind of nursing that.
No,
there was
don't
a
give
little.
me that.
Yes, there was a little bit of managing something.
When we picked the teams for game week 5, there was nothing wrong with Vardy. Nothing.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Not happy about that one.
All right. If you're on Twitter, you'd know. But okay.
Jamie Vardy, you and me,
Done.
we're over. But saved as always by my Spurs boys and the delightful Sonny in the middle of the park, bringing some sunshine to my team with 13 points. So grand total of 15 for me.
That is going to be hard to beat.
In game week 5. From 2 players as well, right? So, well, actually really just from Son, let's be quite honest. Then for you, this week, you had Dallas.
I had Dallas, didn't I? Again, unlucky.
Really unlucky because
the Jimenez goal. That was a tough one to take, actually. As a Dallas owner, he's in my FPL team as well, actually.
Yeah, he's in mine as well, right? And I watched that game incredibly annoyed that Jimenez goal went in because the keeper was all over it. Defender, get out of the way. Anyway.
Actually, Dallas looked quite attacking in that game. I'm quite, despite the defeat there, I think I'm reasonably happy to have Dallas. Reasonably happy to be invested in the Leeds defence, I think.
You did, however, like me, pick yourself a nice midfielder.
Yeah.
In Ross Barkley last week.
Yes.
11 points from him, so positive. And then again, a bit unlucky with Morpie as your striker, because he had plenty of opportunities to do stuff in that game and just didn't really ever get going.
Wasn't his best game.
So 15 for you as well this
week. Was it a tie?
It is indeed a tie. Now, to let you into just a little secret, Dallas wasn't your original choice of defender.
No, it wasn't. I was very keen on Ben Chilwell, but then didn't have Ben Chilwell because he was a bit uncertain to start and all the rest of it. So
had you stuck
Dallas.
with Ben Chilwell, you'd have had an additional point and therefore beat me.
Oh, how annoying.
As it goes, we'll share the points.
Can we have one each rather than none each? Because I do need to get off the mark.
So it's now 5-1.
5-1. It's still a big gap, but listen, I've got the picks this week to bring home the bacon. So this week, I've got the over 10%ers. I've got the big hitters.
Yep.
You've got the under 10%ers.
The differentials.
And this is what we do every week, guys. If you're new to Lee versus Sam price predictions, we do it every single week here on the Fantasy Football Scout YouTube channel. We pick a defender, a midfielder, and a forward. Got to be all from different clubs.
Yep.
I pick the over 10%, and you have well, certainly for this week the under 10% differentials, and we'll switch it next week and then switch. So this week I've gone for, and I've got the colours on to match my man Saiss at the back there for Wolves, having a very, very good season. A couple of price rises already to 5.2. I think actually with Kilman playing really, really well on left centre half and Saiss actually being pushed out to left sort of wing back in Johnny Otto's absence, he's actually getting forward a lot more than he would have done, obviously, in that left centre-back position. Now, clearly they've signed Marcel there, so when Marcel comes back from injury, maybe Saiss goes back into his usual position of left centre-back. But that would be pretty harsh on the boy Kilman, by the way. Max Kilman, 12-pointer this week, no less.
On your bench, right?
On my bench. And to be honest, I can't be hating on him for that because I don't think I was ever really realistically going to play him in that game. But I'm pretty happy to have him now. He's 4.0. in FPL, and Connor Cody after the last Wolves game against Leeds was coming out and saying really good stuff about him.
I love Connor Cody.
The interview was amazing. The post-match interview when he thought he had man of the match was
he's fast
so
becoming one of my favourite not just FPL, but he's fast becoming one of my favourite footballers just because of his celebrations for England when he scored that goal. Everything about him at the moment, he's just so cute.
He's good. I love a bit of Connor Cody, but he and Max Kilman actually playing pretty well. So I'm not entirely convinced that Marcel's going to get back into that team when he comes back from injury. Having bought him in the summer, Saiss is actually working pretty well, I think, out wide on the left.
And actually was really unlucky not... Well, we got the clean sheet on Monday evening, but was unlucky not to have got a goal that got ruled out for VAR in that game as well. So there's definitely some attacking returns there. I must admit, of all of the picks that I know you've got, he's one of the ones that I'm more worried about. I think, it's a nice fixture. They are starting to resemble the Wolves' defence that we saw.
Back-to-back clean sheets now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we all loved the Wolves' clean sheets last year. We all loved having a Wolves defender in our team. And I think we're getting back to that stage now where they seem a bit more settled after, the injury to Otter that you've already mentioned, but also the injuries now they've had to Marcel and also losing Doherty to Spurs. So I think, we're just maybe starting to see the Wolves of old. So it does worry me a little.
Do you think, just as a quick aside, do you think it's affecting Wolves' attacking creativity and fluidity? Do you think they're, holding back a little bit?
No, I don't. I think they were, but I think in Gameweek 5 we saw a bit more of the Wolves of old. I mean, I particularly thought Daniel Podence had next. I mean, it's irrelevant to what we're picking here, but I thought he had a fantastic game in Gameweek 5, and if they can continue to play with that.
Fantastic game, Daniel Podence.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, 5.2 million for Saiss, 15.9% ownership, so obviously over the 10%. I'm going to back him for a clean sheet against Newcastle at Molineux at the weekend. You've gone for a team that's got 3 clean sheets already this season, and they've played, one game less than most other clubs in the Premier League. Aston Villa have had a fantastic start to the season, and this guy at the back has been a rock, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And in the game where they did concede, it was against Liverpool, and most teams concede to the likes of Salah and Mane. So I don't think
they were too busy attacking in that game to worry about defending.
They weren't worried about that at that point. But I think for me, Aston Villa have been the surprise package of the season so far. I didn't really pay much attention to them in pre-season because, as you've already mentioned, they didn't play in game week 1, and so I just kind of thought, well, let's park them. Let's see where we are. It's an interesting start to the season. Because at the time when you're looking pre-season, Sheffield looks difficult and obviously there's Liverpool in there looks a challenge. So didn't pay much attention. Now, I think the Aston Villa assets are kind of going, oh, hello, remember us.
Yeah, I don't know what John Terry's done to them over the summer, but they seem to have really tightened up. And of course they've gone out and signed Martinez, and I think that's part of the reason many FPL managers are not really looking at Mings, or I guess a few people are starting to look at Konsa now because he's a bit kind of cheaper version of Mings. Even Cash and Target. I mean, Target's had a couple of shots on target, and Cash has looked reasonably creative down that side. They haven't got the FPL points yet, but I feel the points are coming for the wing-backs as well. But I think from a safe perspective, you're going to pick a safe pick at the back there for Aston Villa, and it's not Martinez, or indeed you want to fancy the double up, then Tyrone Mings looks a pretty safe bet, doesn't he?
I think so. And I think, in a game against Leeds, and part of the reason I've gone for Mings over the others is I think Leeds are naturally very attacking. That's the way that they like to play. And I think that we might see a little bit more kind of cautiousness from the Aston Villa defenders anyway, and that might just mean that it's Mings that has the best game. I would expect there to be a lot of clearances and therefore a lot of potential bonus points for him if they manage to keep the clean sheet, which with Martinez between the sticks and the way that the back line have been playing together in the last 5 weeks, they've been really, really strong. So I'm expecting good things from Aston Villa this week and from Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the Aston Villa clean sheets is that every time they've got that clean sheet, he's got a bonus point.
Absolutely.
So actually the 6 point, it becomes 7 because clearances, blocks and interceptions, obviously that's Tyrone Mings' bread and butter, but also his kind of pass completion rate and distribution from the back is pretty good. He's improved that over the summer.
Absolutely, and I do think against an attacking team like Leeds, that is how they like to play. They will go and attack, and that bodes well for him in terms of that bonus point potential with all the blocks and interceptions and clearances that I would suspect that he is going to make in that game.
Okay, well listen, Tyrone Mings is second overall in the points tally for defenders. Do you know who's first? Roman Saiss. That's right. It's first versus second for us this week.
Interesting.
Let's move to the midfield. So
surprise!
Listen, you're not going to not have Salah, right? And to be honest, it was a close run thing between Salah and Mane because Mane's had a really good start to the season as well. Obviously missed the game a couple of weeks ago due to COVID-19, but came back with a bang. It's actually, we're recording this half-time in the Liverpool-Ajax game. Did a wonderful turn in the first half against Ajax and then scuffed his shot and it went in off the defender for an own goal. But listen, Mane has looked pretty threatening in the Champions League as well tonight and has done as well in the Premier League. However, I can't.
It's a home fixture.
It's Salah. It's at home. It's the penalties thing. I hate to keep coming back to it, but Sheffield United as well haven't had a good start to the season, no doubt about it. No. So I was always going to pick either Salah or Mane in this bracket. Of course, I had a look at Son, but I can't have Son because I'll tell you about my forward player a bit later on.
But I
had to have Mo Salah or Mane, and you got to go with the Egyptian king at home, right? Can't argue with that, can you?
Liverpool aren't looking that tidy at the moment, though. I think, there is... you can't sit there and say that Liverpool have been as good as they have been previously. And I must admit,
Best performance of the season against Everton. Best performance of the season. And then, just didn't get a result.
But Van Dijk is injured, and that's a problem. You've got Adrian and now I know it doesn't.
So here's a question for you then. What's Klopp? So I think I've got a good answer to this. What's your view as a fairly neutral kind of Liverpool observer? What's Klopp going to do then? Is he going to say, right, our best form of defence is attack and go out?
Be. That's how it should play.
Or is the Van Dijk thing going to affect the whole pitch up until including Salah and Mane?
No, it won't. I mean, the reality is that if Klopp's got any sense, and of course he does, because he's arguably one of the best managers in the world.
Arguably, but yeah, okay.
Well, there's Mourinho. I think... What? Well, that was a joke. So I think the reality is he's going to send them out to attack, which of course benefits the likes of Salah and Mane. I just sometimes worry, like that Aston Villa game, and I'm sorry to bring it up again, I know I do it every week to you, but that game, I know Salah got a couple of goals in that game, but it did affect the whole team, like how bad that Liverpool were defensively. Sometimes it just rubs off, because I think as a Spurs fan, believe me, I've seen this a lot, because our defence is not always very good, and it affects the forward players because they're like, what are you doing? Defend, and they end up coming back to help out and win the ball. Now, actually what we've seen in the Champions League game so far is Fabinho having a really good game in the centre of defence. Now, if he's going to play there in the league and play like he's playing currently this evening, then that only bodes well for Salah and Mane to get forward. Of the two of them, I agree with you. I go Salah all day long. Are you captaining this week in your actual FPL team?
Probably yes, although the form of a certain Englishman at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or actually at Turf Moor this weekend is going to be very, very hard to ignore, but it probably is going to be Mo Salah. Yeah, it probably is. So listen, despite what Liverpool you think is going to turn up, Sheffield United are going to come to Anfield, and that is going to be lambs to the slaughter, surely for Liverpool.
I don't think that you're going to lose the game by any stretch of the imagination. I just think that my midfielder of choice will offer a much better option.
Can't believe we've got to talk about Gareth Bale. There's not going to be too many opportunities, I don't think, to get Gareth Bale in at 1.2% ownership. I guarantee you, had he scored that goal in the previous game and made it 4-2, I think he would be over 5% now, at least 5-6%, if not more, because that would have put the game to bed. Bale's come on, immediately scored. He's going to go on a run now. As it was, the rest is history. Lanzini pops up with an absolute worldie, and Bale's kind of it's all over Twitter that Bale's failed in his debut and stuff.
Remember the last time that you said that somebody had failed, was dead as a player, his career was over,
finished as an FPL asset.
Who was that?
Yes, might have said that about Harry Kane last year.
Harry Kane.
Go on then, talk to us about Bale.
So I think for me, I said last week I didn't think that Gareth Bale would start the game, and obviously that was right in the end. But I do think that he'll start the game this time around.
Yeah, I do.
I think that what Mourinho is doing is looking to ease him back in slightly. I suspect we're going to see him in the Europa League on Thursday evening. And then I suspect we'll see him start the game against Burnley at the weekend. I think for me, he came on, he was in the right places. Okay, didn't score the goal, and actually that ended up being quite costly for us. But equally, it's been a long time since Gareth Bale has played regular football. Well, it has. And apart from Wales, and that's not, you can't count that as regular because it's happens so sporadically throughout the season. But I'm expecting Gareth Bale to have a good season now. I'm expecting him to bed in to that Son and Kane attacking unit.
You're excited, I can tell. You're excited.
I'm very excited, and I think as far as differentials go, this guy and the guy I've got up top, I don't think that you can get much better than them for game week 6 and beyond. Spurs have got lovely fixtures up until game week 9, so he's a brilliant differential for the next few weeks.
Yeah, you can't ignore the fact that Spurs' last couple of away games was Old Trafford, and then it was Southampton, wasn't it? So yeah, he's scoring for fun on the road, and with Bale in there as well, it's clearly going to benefit the whole of the team, not just the front three. Charlie Taylor is going to have his work cut out, I think, against Gareth Bale. The one thing I will say about Burnley is I think some of their key defenders are starting to come back. I think Ben Mee, maybe Tarkowski's back from injury. I'm not sure whether those guys, Ben Mee in particular, has had a long layoff. I'm not sure whether they're going to come back and hit the ground running straight away. And coming up against that Spurs attack, it's going to be very difficult for them. So Bale at 1.2% ownership is a really nice differential, I think. Let's move to the forwards, and I'm going to see your Bale. I'm going to raise you a Harry Kane. I'm not going to talk in any detail about this guy. If you listen to myself and Az and Joe on the Scoutcast the other day, you'll know that we all unanimously waxed lyrical about Harry Kane and the fact that he's added a whole new dimension to his game this season. And a lot of players in the Premier League, they may be, especially at his age, I'm not being funny, but he's not like early 20s now. No. So a lot of players at his age adapt their game and we see a different side, and it sometimes impacts the other side of their game. We're not seeing that with Kane. We're seeing a whole new creative side of Harry Kane, but he's in the right areas at the right times now. I think last season, and maybe a little bit, the season previous, he was kind of dropping deep a lot, and he didn't really know when to drop deep and when to go forward. The difference, I think, this season is that he has worked a lot with obviously Jose and his training team and the coaching staff around when to go and when to stay. And when he stays, he's not staying as deep because he's got Højbjerg and some of the others there covering him. So he's kind of dropping a little bit. It's not deep, he's just dropping off a little bit into that little pocket of space and providing those through balls to the guys either side of him. The pace of Son and Bale either side of him is a pretty frightening prospect. I'm not going to talk any more about Kane. 34.3% ownership. With Spurs' fixtures, he's not just good for Burnley away, but Brighton at home in game week 7 and then West Brom away in game week 8. For me, I don't use the word essential very often, but I think he is far from finished as an FPL asset. He's looking very essential, I think, for the next 3 fixtures.
I love him.
And of course you agree. So
I agree wholeheartedly, and it's when I hate not having the premiums is when I can't have Kane and you've got him. That's terrifying to me. I think everything you just said is correct. I think his relationship with Pochettino was obviously really good, but his relationship with Mourinho is different, and his understanding of the game. The Højbjerg signing has been vital.
Good, right?
Absolutely vital. But also his fitness levels have improved so much. I know that he's had a bad season or a bad couple of seasons really for injury, but this year his fitness levels, he is all over the pitch, and it's not a struggle to get back up front anymore. And before we'd see him go deep to defend, and it'd be taking him 10 years to get back up the pitch again. That's not the Kane we're seeing anymore. And Kane, alongside Sonny, the way that he's playing, alongside Gareth Bale, the way that I expect him to play, with the defensive midfielders doing their business in Højbjerg and the balls that he's passing through. Attacking wise, Spurs have got it all right. Defensively, still a few issues.
Still a few issues, yeah. Can you win the league, yes or no?
I mean, anyone can win the league.
Okay. Well, listen, a lot of FPL managers are going to want Kane in their team. In that price bracket now, though, there is another option. The man, the myth, the legend, Sergio Aguero is coming back, and there are not many times when you could pick up Aguero for 10.4. That's the cheapest he's ever been in FPL. And there's very, very few times when you can pick Aguero at 1.9% ownership. Now, noise in the news is that Gabriel Jesus is out for a few months, potentially, Pep Guardiola's saying. I think he let that slip in one of the Champions League press conferences. So Jesus not coming back anytime soon. So one of the things we've always been perennially scared of as FPL managers is that rotation with Aguero. Is he going to come off on the hour and Jesus will get some minutes? Well, listen, Aguero is going to be there as a permanent fixture, as number 9, in one of the best teams in the league for the next few months. Get on him, I say.
Yeah, I think I picked Aguero this week for a couple of reasons. One, because
it's Aguero.
Well, yeah, it's Aguero. And how often do you get to pick Bale and Aguero as differentials?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, never. And secondly, because West Ham, they've improved a lot when Moyes wasn't there. Moyes came back last week, and all right, they came back into that game well, but they came back into that game because of 2 really quite bad mistakes from Spurs and an absolute worldy masterclass from Lanzini. Now, I don't think that defensively they've always got a slip up in them, West Ham. There's always the potential, and against Aguero and Sterling, there will always be opportunities to score goals. They will create them. And West Ham, I'm not sure, have the strength to stop that for 90 minutes. So I would expect there to be goals for Man City in that game.
I think West Ham have looked pretty good defensively, even against your lot. I mean, Spurs were incredible for about 15, 20 minutes. But after that, West Ham got their act together and actually had defended very, very well for the remaining hour, maybe 70 minutes. But if they could have switched on, it could have been a very different game.
Yeah, maybe. But I do think that the way that Man City's season has started, both defensively, like the rest of the league, just haven't really had the clean sheets, haven't really had that stability at the back. It means the forward players need to work doubly hard. Now, the problem Man City have had is that they've not had their attacking units in the way that they would want. They didn't have Aguero for a long period of time. They haven't had Jesus for a while now. Now they've lost KDB as well. There's been some problems up there. But Aguero's back, and I think that makes the world of difference to the way that they play. They finally got a proper target man up top that they can aim at. He just scored a goal in the Champions League in midweek. So he's back on the score sheet again. Didn't have that many opportunities in game week 5 and didn't play the full game, but then wouldn't necessarily expect him to play the full game going into his first match back. I think it was potentially a little bit of a, you need to come back quickly because we've got bigger issues to fry. But I think Aguero this week against West Ham, I don't have quite as much faith in their defence as you do. I think he'll score goals this week.
I think that's a tricky fixture for them going away to West Ham. You know, I think West Ham look organised, they look okay, and Spurs blitz them for 15 minutes. No doubt about it. Some of the best attacking football we've seen in the league so far this season. But after that, they look good. They come back into the game, obviously rescued it at the end. However, going into this game week with two differentials being Aguero and Bale is a pretty frightening prospect, to be honest with you. So there we go, guys. Get in the comments below. Let us know who you think is going to win this week. Is it Team Lee or Team Sam? A reminder, I've got Saiss and you've got Tyrone Mings.
I have.
It's Bale versus, who did I go for? Salah, of course.
How could you forget?
How could I forget? And then, of course, Kane versus
Aguero
up front.
I mean, I do really wish I had Kane, but
you can't pick him. 34.5% says you can't pick him. So
and by the way, I'm captaining him this week. None of this Salah business.
Is it Salah versus Kane on their captaincy?
Of course.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave us a like before you go. If you're new, hit the subscribe button and we'll see you this time next week for another Lee versus Sam and we'll find out who won this week. Cheers.
Bye, guys.